a congratulations to the new or old elected committee. I'm not sure which way you want to look. And looking forward to obviously working with everyone. Now, Penny, there's an open invitation for you to come up to Victoria and run our AGM as well.
You mean with the whip? What you want me to come with?
That's right. It's gone so smoothly. I'm happy to sit in the background and let it all roll. So that's very good. So hi to everyone. For those who missed at the start, so my name's Chris Nash. I'm the president of the association nationally. I'm also chair of the Victorian branch. Christopher asked me to put together a little presentation as it was your 5-year anniversary, but also for the fact that you don't regularly get to hear what's going on from a national perspective. So I've got a little presentation. So I'm just going to share my screen. I'm happy to take questions on the way through. If people want to unmute themselves and ask a question, just go for your life, not particularly formal. Alternately, I will have a questions section at the end if you like the sound of my voice and you want to hear it all the way through. So I'll just share my screen now.
Can you move as well?
Yeah. Okay. So can everyone see that okay?
Indeed, Chris.
Brilliant. All right. So Tasmanian branch. Well, actually pretty excited about the Tassie branch for a number of reasons. The association was formed back in 1973. And of course, back in those days, Tasmania was part of the Victorian branch. Talking to a few people, various number of members were involved from the Tasmanian side, usually around sort of 6 to 10. And then obviously 5 years ago, we managed to get about a dozen members and find ourselves with a Tasmanian branch. Now, I'm excited about that for a couple of reasons. One, which I was talking to Clive about today, obviously Tasmania is the perfect setup for having electric vehicles in terms of being able to set up the state properly. You can get around to everywhere you need to go. You don't need, a million charges like they do in WA or Queensland. And you can really cut down the whole discussion about range anxiety fairly quickly by getting the charges out there. So the fact that you also do a lot of renewable energy is also, I think, a great thing. So my first involvement actually with Tasmania is when I came down to the National Conference and Expo in 2017 as the chair of Victoria back then, only just become the chair of Victoria at that stage, and was delighted with what I saw and the involvement that was there. And I remember the lineup of cars along the, I guess we'd call it almost the beachfront there in Devonport. So it was absolutely wonderful. And I got a lot of inspiration out of attending that conference and thought that, this was something that was obviously really going to take off in the area. So one thing that as a branch you should be aware of is that as a branch, you've also had, in that 5 years, you've had quite a bit of impact on the national body. And currently have the national vice president in Clive. And Clive, you've been doing that role for 2 years now. He'll unmute himself in a minute.
Be 3 at this AGM, I think, Chris.
3 at the AGM. Very good. Tremendous. And obviously Christopher Walkenden has had a massive impact with the development and selection of a whole heap of things that go into the background of putting together a website. Something that was a massive job, and certainly he put his shoulder to the wheel and worked really hard. And and presented over and over and over about a number of different things, but delighted to have to get that up and running. And I'd just like to say a big congratulations to Christopher for the work that he put in with Rob Hills, and I think Chris Jones also had a bit to do there. Obviously, the membership built up very quickly, quite a bit of it off the back of that national conference, and the branch is running beautifully. And as Penny mentioned in the AGM, a lot of interaction with government and other bodies, which is exactly what we're after. Okay, so let me give you a quick summary about National. Well, everybody knows about the website, and I'm sure if you don't know about the website, you've got the right person to tell you all about it, take you through all the tricks and bits and pieces. But we're very proud of that now, and it's up and running, and it's doing a lot of things for us in the background, including the membership, allowing us to run meetings like this, schedule events, and so on and so forth. So that's going really well. We're currently looking at changing our legal structure at the moment. So in summary, we are currently set up as an incorporated body in Victoria, as a national body. We took on some legal advice earlier in the year, and they have suggested some changes. So over the next couple of months, you'll see some information coming out that will allow us to go to AGM and make some national AGM. This is, and make some changes. There'll no doubt be some meetings in Tasmania about those changes, and they'll sort of be explained to you. But the quick version of those is one, creating a separate organisation to run our events through, so that should we run into something like the pandemic that we have just suffered, if we've run into some sort of contractual misalignment where we may have say paid for the venue, and the venue might be telling us they're not going to refund the monies that we've already paid, and obviously we've been paid that money by sponsors to get there, and sponsors are saying, well, if the thing's not going to happen, then you need to give us our money back, and we find ourselves in trouble on that front. What we don't want to do is put the actual association itself at risk, so we'd like to have that at arm's length. So that was the thing that brought us around initially to thinking that we needed to make some changes to the structure, and went off and got some consultation that led us to that. We also have the ability to get access to grants, ATO concessions, and a whole range of other things. Should we choose to down the line under a different structure, we would also be able to find ourselves setting or registering as a charity, which would then allow people to make tax deductible donations to the association, something that is near to the heart of our friends, our colleagues in WA, who have just recently crowdfunded an electric highway between Perth and Esperance, and unfortunately lost a fairly major donor due to the fact that we weren't able to be a tax deductible donation. So they will be all coming in your direction shortly. I'm sure that Penny and Christopher will keep you appraised. But if you've got any questions about that, obviously Clive's involved there, so you can ask Clive or any of your executive. We have just recently launched a program called Idle Off, and you'll see in the upcoming newsletter there's a whole page on Idle Off, but Idle Off is basically a program for high school students. I think the younger end of high school, so sort of the 8, 9, 10 area of high school, talking to them about the health detriment that carbon emissions make from combustion engine vehicles, or the emissions from combustion engine vehicles, and giving them projects and other things that they can do to measure those emissions, and then eventually find themselves convincing their school that rather than having parents sit in a queue with engines idling, quite often they're four-wheel drive diesel vehicles, that maybe those vehicles could be turned off whilst they're waiting in a queue to pick up kids. So check that out. The website on that is idleoff.com.au. Some of you may have noticed that we've got a pandemic running, and in true Victorian fashion, we weren't happy to just do one wave. We're doing a second. So our conference expo, the awards dinner that we had lined up, that has been changed to an online conference. So that'll now be, originally that was going to be the first week of October. The date for that, we had it originally when we changed to an online conference going for the 25th of September. That's now being reassessed due to the second wave and some difficulties we've had arranging parts of the online conference because of the second wave and getting people in places that we need them to be. So keep your eyes open for that, because that will be an absolute first. And we will have a number of speakers from overseas. We've already had commitments from the head of Plug-in America, commitments from New Zealand and various parts of the world who are happy to come and tell us all about what they're doing, as well as probably the more usual speakers you would have seen about charging networks and other bits and pieces within the industry. I just wanted to make a point about the newsletter, and actually we've got the newsletter editor online at the moment. You would have noticed that the newsletter has, let's say, dramatically changed over the last few years. So we've gone from about a 10-page newsletter to we're regularly pumping out now over 50 pages. In a lot of cases, it's over 60 pages. For those who don't grab the newsletter, I would highly recommend it. There is a stack of information in the newsletter, to the point where we've been giving consideration now to it possibly becoming even a magazine, because we're pumping out that much information. So predominantly that's all coming from Bryce Gatton, who's online there, who's also the secretary of the Victorian branch, but is our national newsletter editor. So if you do have anything to add, if you've got any stories, it might be stories about what you've done, please feel free to give Bryce a note and contribute stories to that newsletter. The more information we get out there, the better. Bryce has also been working away on getting the EV fact sheets, which you can find on the website. So that can tell those of you who haven't purchased vehicles or are looking at purchasing vehicles shortly, that can give you some pretty straightforward, unbiased advice about different vehicles, can tell you all the specs and all the things you need to know. Mostly information you won't be able to get from the dealer, because certainly the experience around Australia at the moment is majority of dealers don't really know their EVs as well as they should. And quite often we find that members are enlightening dealers on what their cars are all about. Be aware that Bryce is a brand new Kona owner. So if you're looking for potential to move to the Hyundai,
I'm going to say it's about past 12 months Kona owner now.
Yeah, well, it's still relatively brand new. You're still enjoying it as though it's a brand new car, and certainly there hasn't been much driving. So so they're the EV fact sheets. We've got our strategic plan that we've put around the states, got some feedback on, and obviously looking to launch. We've held it back, obviously, due to what's been going on at the moment. So that will be available shortly for everyone to have a bit of a wander through on the website. We created the AEVA Awards that were going to be done later this year, as in line with the conference and the expo, but unfortunately they'll now be delayed until next year. So the inaugural awards will run in South Australia, in line with the conference next year. Many submissions to governments. You'd be aware, obviously, we do that on a branch basis, but we also do it on a national basis, and that has been just a continual part of the association, making sure that we've had a voice over that period of time. We're also looking to do memorandums of understanding with various groups. One that we're currently looking at the moment is the Renew Group, which a number of you might be familiar with. We've been looking at the electrical trades unions around Australia and whether we can create a joint membership with them. We've had some promising discussions with them. And we're currently running a monthly states meeting. So representatives from each state attend a monthly meeting where we discuss what's going on in each state and try and pass information backwards and forwards, and then look at what the upcoming things are on a national basis. Okay, so my presentation was, excuse me, to tell you a little bit about where we're at now, how we sort of got here from 5 years ago when Tassie first came in, but also to tell you a little bit about where I guess where I think the association will be in 5 years, but also some of the things that we put in that strategic plan. So the first thing, I thought I'd go with the easy stats. So we're looking to have around 10,000 members in 5 years' time. We've currently got about 1,000 members. We've increased dramatically over the past, let's say, 18 months to 2 years. So if we go back to when we probably had the conference in Tasmania, I would say the membership was around about 400 to 500 then. So we've gone well over 1,000 members now, and with some of the agreements and the fact that we're getting more availability of vehicles, we think that the membership should be heading into that 10,000 range within 5 years' time. Our representation currently is very good, and we do a lot of shows and expos and talks and all sorts of bits and pieces. But our expectation in 5 years is that we'd be doing over 100 of those annually. We'd like to be presenting to over 200 schools, and that would potentially be around just EVs and what they are, and educating the new generation of EV drivers about their options, but also to schools on things like Idle Off and a number of other programs that we would hope to get up and running. We'd like to have the Electricana run annually in every branch and make that a really big event in the state on an annual basis. There's still some states that haven't been able to start an Electricana just yet. Obviously, I mentioned the magazine, so hopefully that would be something that's coming out quarterly in 5 years' time. The awards, which I also mentioned just in what we've been starting on now, so we would really like that to be something that's been picked up, and we're getting a lot of press around, and people are very proud to have won one of our awards. And I think that's something that really separates us from a number of other bodies, but especially the EVC, who are effectively an industry body, is that we're able to put out, let's call it the People's Choice Award. Signed up relationships formally with bodies such as the RACs and so on and so forth. And would really love to have a team of EV ambassadors. Who they are, I don't know, but if anybody's got any suggestions around people that certainly in Tasmania may be good ambassadors for us that we could promote, that could help get the message out there about electric vehicles, I'd be happy to hear any comments, suggestions or ideas. That is the very quick summary of where I think we're headed. Has anyone got any questions that they wanted to throw across? I'll just get my screen going. Is anyone still awake? No, no questions. I'm not sure if that's means it's a really good presentation or no one's interested. So I'll
Yeah, what did you want for EV ambassadors? Like, in what capacity?
So what I mean, ideally, what we'd love. I mean, we actually do a lot of press at different times, and having known names associated with electric vehicles, especially if they are driving electric vehicles, which is the main, is often easier for us to get press involved in different activities that we're doing. So in this country, let's say Tim Payne, who's the test captain, if Tim Payne was an electric vehicle driver, it would actually be quite easy for us to, if we were able to get Tim Payne along to something, to draw a much bigger audience to the fact that EVs are there and people should be considering it because they associate Tim Payne. They, you know, generally the country loves cricket and want to be involved. And so, you know, he would be someone who would be fantastic for us. I don't personally know. I come from a cricket background. I'm involved in Cricket Victoria. I don't personally know Tim, but he's someone that just immediately comes to mind from Tasmania. It could be, you know, it could be a former Premier, Prime Minister, you know, I don't know, a well-known ballet dancer or something. I mean, you throw it up and well, I will consider it because really, from our perspective, we want to win the war with regards to the PR side of it and make sure that we're getting column inches, so to speak, and I use that term not specifically as newspapers, but as with all of it, that we're actually getting people noticing what we're doing, and they're making the consideration about not buying a 3-litre turbo diesel when they could actually be considering something else.
Yeah.
As well as the public transport components and, you know, the other things that we're all aware of actually, and you guys already have the marine transport stuff happening down there on the electric side anyway.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure, fire away.
Will you get involved in the Fully Charged Live that's currently possibly coming in 2022?
The fully charged, did you say?
The Fully Charged Live that Robert talked about coming in.
Yeah, sure. Yes. So one of the members of our, let's call it national state meeting has been in touch. But obviously all of that is up in the air at the moment because we don't have any understanding of where that's going to go and where it's going to be. I can tell you, I run a business based in London, and I think without a vaccine, it's highly unlikely that we'll see anyone from the UK here even next year, which would make it very difficult for them to get that organised in 2022. So if we get a vaccine, I think there's a fair chance they'll get it going. If we don't, then yeah, they'll obviously consider their path on the way through. Very good. Well, if there's no more questions, if anybody feels that they've got any issues that they want to bring up nationally, you're very fortunate. You've got an extremely active national vice president as part of your group here. So by all means, ping Clive with any issues you've got. If you think we're missing a trick on not heading in a particular direction, or you've got ideas, we're very open to hearing everything that everyone's got to say. And so we very much appreciate anything that comes from the membership base. If you're happy enough, I'm sure that we can also arrange some national updates on a more regular basis if you think it's also worthwhile.
Thank you.
That'd be excellent.
Lovely. So thank you very much for your time. Unfortunately, I can't stay with you because I'm due to be in another meeting in about 3 minutes.
At least you don't have to drive anywhere, Chris.
No, I do not. No, which is very good.
Thank you. It's been very
Thank you
informative.
very much.
Yeah.
Well, I have
Cheers,
enjoyed-
Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, Chris Nash. Christopher, were you going to say something?
Only that the next person on the agenda is Clive. I noticed that Andrea's there now, but Clive's the next one on the list.
Also got some other people who joined us. Are you noticing that too? I
Oh,
think
they've
that's
been coming and going all the time.
Tim and John Harders.
But
and,
not for the AGM, only for the second part.
Yeah,
Yep.
only interesting bit.
Quite so.
So are you going to pitch my presentation or shall I, Christopher?
If you can do it, oh, you'll need to make Clive a
Share
hang on,
screen.
no, I can do it here. No, I can do it here. I've got it right here, haven't I? Yes, I do. So if I share that,
There we go. Will it work?
and
All right, that's the PDF.